North Lady Bulldogs finished their volleyball season up recently, a 6-8 district record, good for 5th in District 13 4A. I'm joined by their head coach, Shannon Alvarado.
Hi.
Thanks again for joining us, Coach.
Thanks for having us.
You finished just a spot out of the district, playoff barrier, where if you were 4th, you would have been into the playoffs. What do you think, in the end, was the reason your team just barely missed the playoffs?
I think it was a combination of a couple things. The teams that knocked us out had some key figures and key numbers. Lovejoy, state champion, they've got state championship. They also had 10 seniors. And then Roy City had 9 seniors who finished second. Wiley has been in the hunt for playoffs for quite a while, so that's a team that's knows that taste, knows that victory, knows what that's like. And then Wiley East has been kind of the bottom end of the bracket, and they had a couple key seniors that this was really their opportunity. So those are things that are outside circumstances that you can train all you want, but at the end of the day, when you have a bunch of seniors who know how to win a state title going against a bunch of kids that have never even seen a playoff, that's kind of a difficult task to overcome. But I think we made some key mistakes early on in the first half of district. We lost some games that we could have or should have won that came back and kind of bit us. We opened district at Greenville and led all 3 sets and lost all 3 sets and didn't close out, and then went to Roy City and led 2 of the 3 sets and didn't close those out and ended up losing. And that kind of gains the momentum that people need going into district. And for us, we kind of were behind the 8 ball a little bit, but they played well towards the end of the season. We really kind of figured that out.
Against the team just ahead of you, Wiley East, you split your series in district. You won the first one in 5 sets. That was a really terrific win. And then they come back. They beat you in 3 close, tough sets.
Right. Our first win at Wiley East was more of as much as it was fun to win that game, I think it was just the huge 500-pound monkey that we'd had on our back. That was the first district win that McKinney North had seen since 2010. So that was a long time coming. And it was against a team that we lost to twice last year in 5. And so it was kind of an emotional win for us at Wiley East, which was great. And I think it gave the kids the confidence that they really could do the things that they wanted to. And then when we played Wiley East at our place, it truly was for the playoff position. And I didn't feel like it was important to focus on that for our kids. I think Wiley East coach had them prepared as it was a playoff game. And so I think there was probably a difference in demeanor. And I wouldn't say that our kids were lax. I didn't want to put that unnecessary pressure for our kids to think every point was the end all be all. We played them tight, but at the end we just fell short. And so Wiley East took it.
Sometimes that tension can cause them to have a negative effect rather than a positive effect if you put them on. You mentioned earlier you had a tough loss at Greenville in district, and then in your second time around, play them in 5 sets. You win the first 2 sets, lose sets 3 and 4, and then you come back in set number 5. How were you able to turn around that momentum in that game?
I think that was kind of a team effort. Everybody played that night. Every sport has their definitive starter and then kind of their 6th, 7th, 8th man that comes in and does things. And for us that night, it just was one of those when one wasn't getting it down, the person that we put in there was ready to go and got it done. We had a little bit of a let out. We started out on fire, and it almost, I think, scared them to see how it was from the front side of things, because we're used to having to fight out of it. Last year in districts, we played everybody tough. We just didn't win anything, and so we were always having to fight. This year in districts, starting out with 2 losses, we were kind of back in that, I don't want to say comfort zone, like that's where we want to play, but it was familiar for us. So when we kind of got on the other side as far as this is how you win, this is what it's like to be ahead, we still had to learn how to stay ahead. And so we kind of had a 2-game let out, but when it came to game 5, they knew exactly what they wanted, and they went for it, and I was super proud of everybody that night.
In your final district game of the year, a game against Wiley, you played them to 5 sets. And Wiley, they were, I believe if I'm not mistaken, they were 2nd in the district. They were playing. So one of the toughest teams in that district. Of course, we all know Lovejoy won the state championship in 4A this year after moving up from 3A. But a 5-setter against Wiley, why are you able to play so well against them?
I think it was just the pressure was off, and that was one of the reasons why when we played Wiley East, I didn't want to focus on the pressure. These kids play phenomenal when there's no pressure, and they just go play, and they just play their hearts out, and they follow the game plan. And I think that night that we really did do that. Lindsay Denny came in and set for us, and she really kind of understood the offense that we needed to run. Wiley has 2 huge middles that block tremendously well. They're in the top 5 in the Metroplex of all classes. I mean, they're phenomenal. And so once she kind of understood how we needed to kind of bait them in one way and go away from them, we were able to do some things offensively that really opened the door for us. And then again, that whole like, oh my gosh, we're beating Wiley kind of set in, and that, that learned behavior of how to finish is something that we're still working for. But I couldn't have been more proud of them that night, and just the fact that they had overcome so much at that point. Coming from some of those seniors were on the team last year as juniors on varsity, and no district wins, getting handed to them, and then all of a sudden we're contending with the number 2 team, and we're playing well, and we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, and I think that was probably the biggest victory that we could take out of that.
Going from a team that won no district games last year to a team that won 6 this year, and obviously, to flip a team from not winning any games to being possibly like district championships, that never happens. You can't just do it overnight. It's a process.
Yeah.
How do you feel you are coming along in this process?
I think we're doing a great job. Part of the challenge last year for everybody in the program was that I came in July, and no one really knew who their coach was, and let alone what the expectations of that coach was going to be. I think that was really a blessing because I didn't know anybody in the program, and I didn't know enough about anybody, so I wouldn't say that I was fearless, but I didn't have prejudged ideas of what's going on. The realignment kind of allowed us to stay on that unknown territory of let's just make our own path and do what we want, and the kids really bought into that last spring and worked extremely hard. We still have a ways to go. We need to learn how to finish games. We learned how to compete, we learned how to fight, we've learned that we can compete and fight, and now we've got to learn to finish. And so that's kind of what our focus is this spring, is when we get those leads and we're working hard, it's okay to finish it, it's okay to win, it's okay to go out and be the aggressor in that situation. And
who do you feel are a couple of key contributors that are coming back to next year's team that can lead you to possibly that playoff position?
Lindsay Denny as a setter is going to be key for us if she can continue to go down the path that we want her to as far as understanding and the choices and all that stuff. But really, anybody and everybody that got playing time this year is going to be important to us because they all adjusted to their role. I mean, we have some girls that are coming back that didn't see the court nearly as much as they would have liked to. But their hard work and their dedication and their commitment to each other is what is more vital than the kid who plays every point that doesn't do their job. Allie Mahalik did a great job for us on the defensive side of things. She once was a setter. She was a setter last year for us in district, and then we moved her into a DS role, and she did a great job. She was second on the team with digs and second in the team for passing. So she did a fantastic job. And then, our 2 big kids, Melissa Nichols, who's 6'1", and Courtney Kinkle, who's 6'1". They're just a physical presence that we haven't had in a while, and it's fun to watch them get out there and kind of dominate. But, we've got a lot of players that are going to do some really good things. Abby Middleton's got a fantastic vertical, and she can play really high, and she can set, and so we were able to do some things with her. And then we've got some younger players that we're going to keep our eye on development over the spring and summer and see how that helps us. But they have big shoes to fill. So.
Well, Coach, it seems like you've certainly started a great trend here with McKinney North High School as far as winning in volleyball, and hope you can continue it next year. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
For the McKinney North Lady Bulldogs, it was a year that they won 6 and 8 in district play. They'll try and flip that and even get into the playoff position next year in District 13 4A. That concludes this episode of Sports Talk. We want to thank all of our guests for stopping by on today's show, and a special thanks to all of the student athletes who competed in football and volleyball this season in McKinney ISD. Next week, our focus turns to cross country. We'll reveal all the fast times, breakout performances, and regional and state appearances. From all of us here at Sports Talk, I'm Tyler Sloan. Have a great week.